All right, so I'm not going to keep everybody long, but as always, or as per usual, I do a little sort of recap of things related to technology and smart cities that have kind of crossed my radar related to Sheffield over the last few months, or since the last time we did one of these, which is October last year. Smart Sheffield News. Before I go, I look at some of those things, though. I wonder. Oh, let me just check the microphone's actually on. Yes, it is. I always like spotting kind of instances of the smart city concept in popular culture to see kind of how people are kind of feeling about and what kind of contexts people are coming to understand smart cities through. I don't know if anybody saw Murder at the End of the World. Anybody watched that series? I think it was on Apple TV. No, it was on Disney, wasn't it? On Disney. A couple of months ago. So there's a bit in. Let's see if this actually plays. One of the characters in Murder at the End of the World is a smart city designer. She designs or builds smart cities in China, and they're very, very suspicious of her because this is kind of how they formulate what a smart city means. Can you read that? Okay.
I built smart cities in China. My team has developed a software to keep the residents of our smart cities safe. It looks for patterns in mental health records, criminal records, cell phone data, to create profiles that anticipate criminal behavior.
Smart cities aren't just like cities where the lights automatically turn on. They're cities where everyone is tracked, surveilled.
Fuck. Yeah. Yes. This is what we're up against, people. These are the impressions that people have of the thing that we're interested in. So yeah, this is alongside people were here I don't know, about a year ago. I showed a photo of someone at one of the protests, the Clean Air Zone protest in Sheffield, with a big banner saying, "No to smart cities." And anyway, so. This idea of the smart cities meaning surveillance cities is kind of becoming more and more entrenched, I think, in popular perception. Anyway, that's by the by. Let's just ignore it. A few things to talk about Sheffield-wise. So the Sheffield City Goals process. I don't know how many people here are aware of that, but it's been a big consultation in Sheffield over the last 12 months. That is now completed. The results of that are now available on the Sheffield City Goals website. You can go and see what this huge collaborative kind of futuring process has produced. And now, of course, the challenge is to take that vision, those ideas of what the population of the city and all its communities collaboratively have decided they want the future of Sheffield to look like, what we should be striving towards, how those goals manifest themselves in real strategies, real projects, real infrastructure, etc. So go to the website if you haven't yet to sort of see what that's about. It's almost more interesting now that the consultation is over and we can see what the outputs are. And we can maybe be even more critical in an academic sense of what the output is. Other things, Sheffield City Council have released their destination management plan. This is their kind of overarching strategy for developing the visitor economy in Sheffield. There's been quite a bit of input from smart tourism practitioners and technologists in this. So, how do we welcome people into the city? How do we connect them with things to do? How do we kind of develop our tourism assets? Well, worth a read if you're into that kind of niche within smart cities. There's also the Green Ground Map of Sheffield. Anybody seen this? It's a physical map, it's basically like a tube map showing all of the connected green spaces in Sheffield. So, it's really another asset within the wider outdoor city strategy that the city is really pushing. There's a lot of place marketing going on at the moment. I don't know if people have seen that there was a big tender that the council just let. That was won by a London agency to develop a lot of the messaging around the strategic push, which comes out of the city goals process, but it also relates to these ongoing strategies around the outdoor city. And the green ground map of Sheffield is part of this. This is kind of what it looks like. You can kind of see the kind of city centre loop here, the ring road, but all of those dots are different green spaces, parks, outdoor activities that you can engage in. They're all colour-coded along here. Blue ones are river lines and walks. So it really, is trying to show just the options, the opportunities, the richness of what the city offers in terms of engaging with nature, and that's one of the dimensions by which Sheffield is trying to differentiate itself from other cities in the UK and elsewhere. So it's quite cool. I think there's going to be like a digital version of it, or there's a bunch of data there which is going to kind of find its way into digital experiences. Within that tourism strategy. Other things that I thought were interesting, CRESA, the Centre for Regional Economic and Social Research at Sheffield Hallam, released a report just a month or two ago on local regeneration. So they did like a longitudinal review or a literature review of regeneration projects over the last 30 years to try and figure out what works and what doesn't. It's a really interesting read if you're interested in kind of local grassroots regeneration projects. I know several people in the audience here. That's their bag. South Yorkshire Local Heritage List on a similar vein just got its funding renewed. So that's the database of heritage assets. Crowd-funded list of heritage assets. It's not just what people in positions of authority think is of value to communities, but it's what the communities think is of value to them within the built environment. That list is, continues to be supported and developed. So, go and check out to see if it sort of has listings for your neighbourhood, and maybe promote the fact that this list exists and it can be added to. Report from Sheffield City Council to do with their long-term view of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. They have so far achieved only 3% of carbon reductions since they announced the strategy, which isn't very good. There may be a bunch of reasons for that. One of the reasons for that might be that they invested quite a bit of money in this bus retrofit by fixing up buses with hybrid drivetrains. Unfortunately, because Sheffield is very hilly, all of the data they used to do their predictions of how many emissions this would save were based on topographies that are much flatter than Sheffield's, and so the hybrids, the ICEs kick in as soon as you hit a hill, and produce even more emissions than maybe a lean running diesel would, because it has more weight to carry with the batteries and everything else. So that didn't work out so well. I think that whole project has now been scrapped. However, the regional government has just pledged 11 million quid for 27 electric buses across South Yorkshire. I think 4 of them are earmarked for Sheffield, but nobody knows who's going to run them yet. I think Sheffield needs more than 4 electric buses. I think if the hybrid project has told us anything, it's like, tram strategy. This is another big thing in transport that's been running. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to talk about HS2 collapsing. I talked about that last time. But the idea of running the trams into public ownership. This is a stated strategy of SIMCA, of the combined mayoral authority, or mayoral combined authority. And it looks like, essentially, according to their financial projections, operating the trams will lose £6 million a year every year. That's like the best scenario of running it based on their predictions for occupancy, is that it will lose £6 million a year. And if that shortfall is going to be picked up by the regional government, that means that all the other parts of South Yorkshire are going to be paying for Sheffield's trams, even more than they are at the moment. So there's a bunch of political rumblings going on around this. And so, like, one of the questions is, how can Sheffield make good on that? You know, how can, if this is what they've decided and this is what's going to happen, you know, what can Sheffield do to pay some of that value back that the other parts of South Yorkshire are providing to keep the tram system running? I'm not going to talk about, obviously we talk about developments in Sheffield and the Cole Brothers and Heart of the City and West Bar and all these big new developments that are going on in the city. I'm just going to pick out two of them. Elshaw House has just come on stream in the heart of the city. That's Sheffield's first zero carbon office building. It's a big black office building in the centre of town, just sort of Carver Street, I think. And then King's Tower just got planning permission that would become, if it actually gets built. I mean, we've had several positive planning decisions on towers over the last few years that have then not turned to come to fruition. This would be South Yorkshire. It would be Yorkshire's tallest building at 40 stories if it's built. That got planning permission, just like end of December, I think. Other things, Sheffield Digital, the Association for Digital Industries in Sheffield, who are also a co-sponsor of this meetup series, they conducted a skills audit. That audit is now published on the Sheffield Digital website. So if you want to understand where the digital economy in Sheffield is lacking skills or what their attitude is towards skills training, recruitment, go to sheffield.digital, have a look at the outputs from the skills audit. It makes for some really interesting reading. I'm going to remind people of this again, Better Points Sheffield. So this is the app whereby you kind of commit to walking and cycling more or choosing public transport, and it tracks your movements and gives you points, and you can exchange those points for discounts and things in Sheffield on events and stuff. I mentioned this last time. I'm going to mention it again. I'm just going to highlight it pretty much every time because I think people should download the app and sign in and start collecting points for walking around the city and experiencing the city through public transport and active travel. Whether you get enough points to go and get a tenner off an escape room or something or not, I don't really care. But it's worth supporting, I think. And then finally, Now the magazine had an article a couple of issues ago with 6 ideas Sheffield could steal from other cities around the world and implement, which I thought was quite interesting. So if you want to go and read an interesting article, and I mean, I don't know how many people here read the Tribune, but the Tribune has really kind of doubled down on writing articles about Sheffield's development and what's going on in the city. And it's a really high quality source of information about decision making and policy and how that's kind of manifesting and impacting communities and what's really going on, and also historically what has gone on as well. So I recommend checking out the Sheffield Tribune as well as Now Then. That's it. Join the mailing list at sheffield.city if you haven't already. I want to say thank you very much to all the sponsors, especially John and the Computer Science Department at the University of Sheffield. But also Sheffield Hallam University, represent all the smart computing course at Sheffield Hallam University, represented by Chris and Liz over there. Arup, Charlotte's in the room from Arup, and Sheffield Digital, of which I'm a co-founder as well. So thanks to my son Flynn for doing the recording and everything, and sitting still for an hour and a half of watching grown-ups talk relentlessly. And thanks everybody for coming along tonight. And now you can all go and have a drink and keep chatting and hopefully meet new people. Thanks very much. Thank you.